Hey guys, welcome back to the Previa Alliance podcast. This is Sarah
and Whitney.
Okay, so today, Whitney, let's talk about it. Moms, they're superheroes. And we're going, hey, that's great. We're drowning.
Yeah, we're drowning. Quit telling me I'm a superhero and help me instead of handing me an anchor and making me sink to the bottom.
I think it really, we've always been superheroes as moms, but COVID really was like, I think it did a shift that like we were supposed to, I mean, if you think about it, schools were closed, childcare were closed.
Yep.
We were supposed to still work.
Yeah.
Now with our children at home, now we're isolated because our village, that if you're lucky enough to have like a physical village.
We were mandated to stay away.
So then it become, well, you did so great
during
this
handled all of
this time, and moms are the backbone of society, and it's like we have still not recovered from that.
And I almost think we have a little overcompensation right now.
Yeah.
Because, we did go so long without extracurriculars being an option and being able to socialize and go and do all of these things, these events. So now we almost are kind of overdoing it.
Because you feel like I missed out. My kid missed out. I have to make up time for what I lost. Because COVID was a loss. Like
a huge loss.
A loss for so many experiences, relationships.
We're really looking at nearly 2 years of almost lockdown-ish type
isolation.
Yes, isolation. That's a great word.
It was a dark period for everybody.
Oh, it was.
But it's like society kept being like, here's your cape. Yeah. Keep wearing it, moms.
You can do it.
You can do it. And you're just like, this is not normal.
No.
So I think what happened too is then we like believe we are this superhero.
Yeah.
In reality, you're kind of killing yourself slowly with what you're putting on yourself. All right, mentally, right? It's like, and then you're running yourself to exhaustion. And I always say, sometimes I feel like I'm doing everything and nothing well.
Well, and that's the thing. We can't do everything at 100% because if we're doing 5 things, we don't have 100% to give to 5. We don't have 500% within us.
No.
We don't.
And then, now it's like, if you even think about moms, like what we're doing, right? If you take the mental load of being a mom alone, you're not taking
it's a lot.
The work, you're not taking, the Uber driving we are for our children, basically, sometimes.
Oh, yes.
We're not taking the roles on if we're a daughter, if we're a sister, if we're a wife. Just the mental load of, did I order diapers? What do we have food in the fridge? Do I need to thaw the meat? Oh my gosh, I have to pay this bill. Here's this email from the school. I have this birthday party. I have this family member.
Then your kid naturally is going to go in and pop a fever in the middle of all that too. So then we have to coordinate either a pediatrician appointment or an urgent care appointment. I'm not speaking from recent personal experience.
Whitney, again, has been hit a little bit on this road.
Yeah, me and my youngest both have had strep twice within the past month.
Yeah.
That was super fun. And then she literally finished her antibiotics for strep the second time yesterday, and Monday she woke up and had a 101 fever and a wet cough. So off to the pediatrician we go to make sure it's not RSV.
Yeah.
It wasn't RSV. It wasn't. It was para-influenza and a non-COVID coronavirus cold.
I mean, and the
3 infections
it
at once.
never ends. It just, and that's the thing is like, I think it's hard if somebody's like, well, what's happening? It's like, everything's happening. You may see me driving my kids to school, but in my head, I have 1,000 things that I'm trying to put in categories of what I have to do today.
Yeah.
Maybe, I feel horrible sometimes. Sometimes text messages, I read them. I just don't respond back.
Okay, I'm getting called out because that is me.
And then I feel and then I'm like, oh my gosh, my bad. I read this during this time or,
Or I love when I actually type out a response and I forget to hit.
Oh, that's happened too. And then, some people are like, okay, well, can you do this? Can you do that? Or add this in? You're just like, in your head, you get slow to process.
Yeah.
Like, I get brain
Yeah.
fog sometimes and just like that freeze or fawn,
Yep.
where then I'll be like, well, I've got a zillion things to do. Let me doom scroll on Instagram for a second.
And then it's an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you're like, wow, and hours went by.
Yeah.
But it's like, I never used to be like that, honestly,
Yeah.
before I was a mom.
Well, and let's also be real, social media wasn't as scrollable
No.
back then.
And there wasn't an algorithm literally designed for us to mindlessly do that.
Yeah. Because, I mean, and I've said this before, where social media apps are meant to be addictive, especially now. And so,
Just like Netflix.
Oh, yeah. So it's easy just to scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll and all those kinds of things.
Yeah. So what do we say? I struggle too with this. It's like, and Bill even said this to me last night. He was like, because he's going to go away for his reunion trip, and I'm not able to go with him. And I was like, am I a little bit like jealous that he gets to go and enjoy? And it's like, if you even break it down for a dad, not all dads or partners, but typical, they just book their flight and they go.
Yeah.
Pack a bag.
Peace out. Unless you have to pack the bag for them.
What's not more than likely, I'm doing the dry cleaning and make sure everything's ready for his suits for this event. But it's like, for me to leave, for me and some of my best girlfriends, we try to take an annual girls trip.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like we fight off typhoons, we fight off tornadoes, we fight off every kid getting sick.
Yep.
It takes an army of babysitters.
Uh-huh.
It takes our parents, us being like, we'll give you whatever, please come and watch our kids.
Yes.
And I'm at that same thing, making sure their clothes are set. I'm dealing with the school stuff ahead of time.
Yeah.
And it's like, so even for me to even take that trip,
It takes a lot of work.
a lot of work. And then I feel guilty
Uh-huh.
when I take time for myself. Make it make sense.
You really want me to?
Yeah.
Okay.
Why not?
Are you ready?
Let's go.
Okay. So much of this goes back to people-pleasing behaviors
Yeah.
and feeling the need to be all things for all people.
Yeah.
And it's one of those weird things where we almost know that we're reliable enough that we can put ourselves on the back burner. And we're like, it's okay, I can let myself go on the back burner because I know that I'm still being there for everybody else, so I can get validation from everybody else and I don't have to do it for myself.
Oh my God.
I told you. I tried to warn you.
I know. So what do I do?
So I think part of it is normal to realize that you're going to organize and prepare for being gone.
Yeah.
That's normal because you do want to get school stuff taken care of ahead of time. Like if there's a project or something due, you may be like, you know what, Will, let's go ahead and get this poster made. That way on Thursday, all you have to do is get it in the car, bud.
Mm-hmm.
That is all you got to do. So you may do that assignment a week ahead of time.
Yeah.
Just for it to be done.
Yeah.
That's appropriate. We can say that that's very appropriate. So there are some parts of this preparation that are normal that will decrease stress even on yourself in the moment.
Right.
Because come Thursday, you're like, you know what? I sent the text to my mom, Bill, whomever. They know, get the poster board.
Yeah.
They know where the poster board is at. They have put it in the car. It's on them at this point. I've done all that I can do.
Mm-hmm.
So some preparation is very normal. Then when it comes to making sure that you are all things to all people, realize that that's not actually very realistic.
Yeah.
If you only have 40% of yourself to give one day, and let's say you give 40% to your kids that day, well, you don't have another 100%
No.
to give to others.
Yeah.
You've already given 100% of your resources for that day to somebody else.
And I think that's something that, like, I had to realize. Motherhood really, really helped me realize it. I don't start off every day with 100% to give.
Mm-mm. No, nobody does.
And I think it's this lie that, like, you wake up and you're just like,
I'm refreshed. I'm great. I'm ready to go.
it's a new day. Let's take it on.
Yeah.
And it's just not reality.
It's not. And that's okay. It doesn't.
Yeah.
That is such a TV/movie influence on us where these people wake up and they look so refreshed. Well, you know what? I would too if I had studio makeup and hair done and I hadn't actually fallen asleep and I'm pretending to be asleep and I wake up. Okay?
That's true.
So that is very much a lie that is put into our heads of, well, this is what it's like to wake up. Well, maybe when I was 22,
Yeah.
maybe when I didn't have kids that woke up throughout the night because the rain scared them.
Oh, in Alabama, the storms, they get us often.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we're daily with the thunderstorms right now.
Truly, and it just, and I think, too, going back to like the superhero cape is like, then it myself, I feel like, okay, I've worn it for so long. How
part of that identity now.
Yeah. And then how do I take it off without disappointing everybody?
Well, let's tie that into boundaries.
Yeah.
So that's part of where you can tell somebody, hey, you know what? I'm glad to help you with this, but I don't have time for that today. Is that something that I can do for you on Thursday? Figuring out, can we re-delegate that time? Because you actually don't mind doing it, and you're not doing it for a source of validation. You want to be able to help that person out, but you don't have the capacity today or the resources today. But you know what? Thursday is actually a pretty good day. I can get that accomplished.
And, I used to feel really bad saying no, back to my people-pleasing technique here, or have it wait. But I respect someone now so much more if they're like, this doesn't work for me this day. I can give my all on this day with this.
Correct.
And I'm like, so why is that not okay for me when it comes to motherhood?
Well, because you have kind of high self-imposed expectations.
So you have to limit. I have to become more okay with my expectations of not being super mom.
Yeah, because nobody is.
And then again, it's just like sometimes I'm like, I'm struggling with 2 kids. And I see a mom with like 5 kids. And I'm like, okay, what?
But you also don't know the struggle that it took to get those 5 kids to the zoo.
Yeah.
You don't know how many of them, if not all of them, had a meltdown.
Yeah.
Because they probably did.
I mean, my dad was the youngest of 7. And I remember one of my aunts saying to me one time, she's like, at some point, we just watched each other.
I was just thinking that. I saw something on Instagram the other day that talked about like the more kids that you have, it's not as taxing as it is to have 2 kids, because then the older ones start to help take care of the younger ones. So you could have a 10-year-old that starts to kind of take the 5 or 6-year-old under their wing.
Right.
And it's like, okay, well, let's pick out your clothes for today. Or let me help you color your homework assignment or whatever it is.
And then even just one kid, you just don't have that other entertainment sometimes.
Correct.
That siblings can either provide via violence or joy.
Both.
Both happens frequently in my household.
Yeah.
But again, you're right. You don't know what someone else is.
We don't see the behind the scenes.
So that's a good point too, to just say, this generation of moms, like it or not, what else we are dealing with is COVID, mass shootings, new levels of infertility, honestly, and the fact of, generations before us, if they couldn't get pregnant, they couldn't get pregnant.
Yeah.
Now we have more access to things.
IUIs, IVF, InviCell.
And that's a whole journey in itself.
It is.
That's mentally taxing.
It is.
And then you have this new balance of work, mom life.
Oh, it's hard.
Or
it's so hard.
Just the expectations that society has now placed upon us.
Yeah, and I think so much of that, again, I think it's an overcompensation from COVID where we feel like we have to put our kids in all of the things because we feel like they missed out, which they did. I feel like my oldest missed out on a lot. I feel like I missed out on ages 3 and 4 with her because of COVID times. 1000% I get that. But I do think we have an overcompensation where people are like, my kid's going to do t-ball and soccer and it's in the same season. We are talking at least 2 practices a week for each activity.
And then games.
And so you're also looking at what if you have multiple children and they each have 2 activities apiece. You're looking at going to 6 to 10 practices and games a week.
Yeah.
How is that even doable? I have no idea how it's even doable, to be honest.
I have neighbors that do that, and I always am just like, are y'all not exhausted? Yeah. I'm exhausted watching you pack up and get out.
Yeah, I don't really know how people are capable of it, but I will say that there's a pediatrician account that I've been following on Instagram, and I really appreciate his perspective on a lot of things. And he talks about how to unbusy your life. Because I honestly feel a little guilt because my oldest, we've never really put her in sports, which this year she was like, I don't really want to do it. So the most extracurricular we've done for her has been swim lessons, which I feel like is more of a safety thing as opposed to
We love swim
an
lessons. Yes.
extracurricular. That's my own little soapbox on that. I feel like swim lessons are necessary for life.
It's a survival.
It is. So to me, that's not extra as far as like, it's not a
Right.
team sport kind of thing. And so I felt guilty because she hasn't done t-ball. She hasn't done soccer. She hasn't done all of these things. But he talked about how you want to unbusy your life because your kids are not always going to remember these activities that they're involved in. They're going to remember a connection with their family. So when they get to be teenagers, when they get to be in college, when they get to be young adults, and they feel overwhelmed or they have a sticky situation come up and they need help navigating it, they can come back to mom and dad because they feel secure with mom and dad. And oh my goodness, did I need that perspective?
Because all you see is, and I remember feeling this when Will was little. I was like, oh, they're taking them to story hour and then they're doing music class and then they're doing this. And I'm like, I'm not doing any of that.
Yeah. I feel that.
Yeah.
I feel that for sure.
And that was hard.
It is hard. And so, as my oldest gets older, we're going to keep giving her the option. But one thing that I really appreciated from that pediatric account was you do one extra for a child per season.
Okay.
So if my daughter says, yes, I want to play soccer, great. You can do soccer for the spring season, but that means we can't do t-ball. That means that your swim lessons get pushed to summertime. That means that you can't do cheerleading in the spring.
Right.
So we have to have those real conversations of are more than happy for you to do soccer, but when you do soccer, that is your commitment.
And that's a boundary too of her time that she's going to learn.
Absolutely.
And let's just say again, because I need to hear this, rest is not lazy.
It's productive.
So be the most productive self. If society's going to keep making us be these superheroes, we have to have that pause. We have to have that rest.
Absolutely, we do. And that's one thing that pediatrician had talked about as well, is we're teaching our kids how to have those boundaries when they get older so that they're used to saying, no, I can't take that on.
Oh,
so to me, I feel like that would help decrease people-pleasing behaviors.
Yeah.
Where we can say, you know what, I have enough right now. Thank you for the opportunity, but right now I can't take on more.
And I think protecting your mental health, this is just a huge step. And getting okay with telling people no. Okay, I'm looking at myself. And
it's hard.
Saying that I can't do something does not deteriorate my worth or my value.
Yeah.
It's actually, I'm adding back to myself.
Absolutely.
But growing up, working in certain, in the healthcare industry, the hospital's never going to like the no or that's too much. And it's like, I remember, we always had to have more patients than we should have in ratio. And they didn't care.
No.
You need to do the job.
Yeah.
So that was engraved.
Yeah.
So it's now, as you're a mom, and society keeps trying to push it at us, we have to stand back. And we have to bounce back and just say, nope, here's these guardrails of our time. Here's our guardrails of our mental energy. Nope, let's tag in help.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that. How do we tag in help?
So with that, it doesn't even have to be a specific person that you're asking for help. If it's a busier afternoon, so like for me, my later days at work are Wednesdays. That's just how my schedule is set up. So we know Wednesdays are going to be our drive-through days. Yeah. So whether that is pizza, whether that's Chick-fil-A, Zaxby's, whatever it may be, that's takeout night. And you know what? That takes a lot off of me when I'm writing on our calendar what the menu is. I'm like, Wednesdays, takeout. We will make that decision in the car.
Yeah.
And I love that because I delegate something. And my kids are pretty happy because, yes, it's Wednesday. That means we get to do something fun. So for them, it's an experience kind of thing. And I'm like, praise Jesus, I don't really have to worry about dishes.
Right.
I don't have to worry about cooking. I don't have to worry about them getting hangry because I had to cook. Things like that.
And so, and then how do you, and you're also this mom who's like, this is me, this is me.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, what do you deal with the mom guilt and the mom shamers when you start? Because like we say with anything, right? If we've used to be doing something, society's used to us always doing it. Our family and friends, our partners are always used to it.
Yeah.
And we set that boundary. People like to buck a boundary.
They love to buck a boundary because they're not used to being told no. Just like your toddler doesn't like being told no if they ask for ice cream or a popsicle for breakfast. Not disclosing what happens in my household at all.
Or I want out of my car seat. No.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So when that happens, just know when you establish a boundary, you will likely get backlash. And while I'm not one to say plan out all of your conversations because that can increase your anxiety, have responses ready that are kind of non-emotional. Not that you're being cold or harsh, but that you're saying, I understand that you're frustrated. That's understandable. However, right now, I just can't take on more.
Right.
Or you know what? We can't handle 5 extracurriculars at once. We're withdrawing from baseball right now. Or whatever the case may be.
Or we cannot do, we would love to celebrate you guys. Unfortunately, our time is committed elsewhere. Mm-hmm. You send a gift.
Yeah.
Move on.
Yeah, it is what it is. And and here's the thing. Nobody can do all things.
No.
And there are only so many days out of the week. And when we are in the season of life of birthday parties being frequent, guess what? You're probably going to get multiple birthday party invitations for the same day. That would
always happens.
That would be our weekend this weekend where my youngest got a birthday party invite. My oldest niece is having her high school graduation party and we're house hunting. So it was one of those, I was like, you know what? We can send just a little Chick-fil-A gift card for my youngest friends with a birthday card. Mm-hmm. That's a great gift for a 2-year-old.
They love it. And honestly, the 2-year-old's not going to really.
Well, it's less clutter in their household.
Yeah.
Let's just
and the mom's like, thank gosh.
Exactly. No more plastic toys in the house. So, and unfortunately, we had already committed with our realtor to house hunt. Literally right when my niece's graduation party is going to be. So you know what I'm doing? We are getting a nice gift off of Amazon. I am shipping it to her with a card.
Yeah.
All the things.
And you're like, this is okay.
We don't have a choice but for it to be okay.
Yeah.
And the thing is, when my husband talks to his older brother and is like, hey, this is why we can't do these things, they're going to be fine with it. Because you know what? They have 2 kids too. They understand the busyness that can be life with 2 young children.
Yes.
And so luckily we do have that good relationship where they're not going to be angry with us about not coming. So we have that to our advantage, thankfully.
It goes back to, I know I got a lot of backlash when I started saying, no, my kids need to nap. If it's during nap time, we're not going to be there.
Yep.
Nope, we're leaving because I'm not going to deal with them to be overtired.
Correct. It's
and we're going home, or nope, I'm not doing that travel. And people were they just automatically thought they had every right to see my kids at any time of the day they wanted.
Yeah.
Or me and my family to do X because they just wanted it.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is not how it's going to work.
Nope.
But now that heart of the initial no, now they're just like, that's our boundary.
Yeah. It is, and we can only do so much. And there's only so many days out of the week and hours in the day, and we are allowed to have our boundaries in place.
Boundaries are not a bad thing. And then let's talk about to the mom who says, I ask for help and I don't get it the way I want it, or I end up doing it anyways, or it's more work for me.
So with that, sometimes that can fall into the category of someone says, well, just tell me how to help you.
Oh, boy.
That doesn't necessarily take off of our mental load because now we're saying, well, if I have to tell you to put the dishes that are visibly in the sink in the dishwasher, like, you're an adult. Can you not understand that that's a need to swap the dishes out? Like that, I feel like you should understand that at 30-something years old.
It makes you almost go into like rage.
Yeah, because it feels like it's an obvious.
Yeah.
But again, I do feel like moms, we put so much on ourselves to be perfect and to do all the things that we feel like everybody else should see these same problems the way we do.
And they don't. And I
And
always
they
say
don't.
Bill always amazes me with his ability to not see it is not the right thing, but like not let it be his have to. Like,
Well, and I think we're so used to juggling all the things mentally that we feel like we have to juggle it all physically as well. And so it's one of those things that, if there's dishes in the sink and my husband's like, hey, how can I help you? It really, I am learning.
we're learning.
I am learning how to not let it bother me. I can just say, you know what? I think that we need to, put the dishes in the sink and the dishwasher. Can you do that for me?
Yeah.
Because truly, yes, it does add a little bit to my mental load to say that. But also, it takes me about 5 seconds to tell him, hey, can you just load the dishwasher? And then
Yeah.
the task can be done.
Yeah.
And you know what? I don't have to spend a few minutes doing it. Like, that does take it off of me physically and mentally, because then the sink is cleared. That
Yeah.
takes that away from me. So I'm learning things that I view as an obvious chore. I can state the obvious chore and it can get done. It can get done. Now, this is just a me thing. Okay? Here's my time.
Okay.
Okay, I'm telling on myself. So bless my husband, he really does try to help, like with the girls' laundry.
Yeah.
And that's been a huge thing to take off of my mental plate, because I haven't had to ask for that. That's one of those, he's been able to help. But he does not fold and put away clothes the way I do. I don't really understand why he does it the way that he does.
I can see it visibly of like affection.
It bothers me.
Yeah.
There have been many times I go back, especially more so in my oldest room, because she's obviously much taller, so we have to actually fold the leggings and the shirts and whatnot now. I have to go back behind him and do it, because I'm like, the way you're doing it, we don't know what we have. And it bothers me. So I tell him that I appreciate him washing, drying, and putting clothes away, because that really does take a lot off of me.
Right.
Do I have to tell him I go back behind him and refold them?
No.
No, I don't.
No.
Because it really doesn't even take me that much time to just fold things and get them back in the drawer where they were.
And it's a pick your battle.
It is, because 97% of that work has been done. So I'm going to let go of my 3% of frustration or annoyance and be like, you know what? That really did help. That took time off of my day.
Yeah. And I try to get our life into a rhythm as much as possible, and to the point, Will, yesterday, he was like, "Oh, she's going to fold laundry right now." He started to help.
Sweet buddy.
I just was like, "Oh my gosh." It was the sweetest, kindest thing, but that's something that helps me is the rhythm, and my kids know what to expect. Now, Bill's schedule is everywhere and anywhere.
Yeah.
So, but I'm just like, maybe I should write out. This is always done daily. And see if that would help communicate.
Yeah, so what you could do, because what we have on our fridge for meal, I say meal planning, we very loosely use of meal planning, but we have a dry erase calendar. And so on there, I write down whatever I think that we're going to do for supper that day. If, it's my daughter's swim lesson day, all right, Sydney's swim lesson, and the time and all those kinds of things. But when it comes down to chores, more often than not, Thursdays could be bathroom cleaning days and things like that. So just kind of putting those things on there so we're not deep cleaning the whole house on the weekends. Because that gets old.
That gets old, and that's the time you want to like relax and
It is.
rest if you can.
Absolutely. And honestly, our weekends just get busy going and doing and things like that. And so, and like this weekend, like Sunday, I'm having to make up for calling out earlier this week when my youngest was sick. And so I don't have time for chores on Sunday because I'm working.
Yeah.
And that's not my norm to work on a Sunday, but I needed to get people back in as soon as I could. So it's one of those, when we have flexibility with tasks, that helps with the dry erase, because it's like, you know what? Maybe Sunday was kitchen cleaning day. Well, if I'm working, that's probably not going to happen.
That's not going to happen.
And it just is what it is. We know that. It's part of it. So really, when my youngest was at home sick on Monday, guess what? Kitchen clean.
Yeah.
Because she was napping or she was chilling watching Peppa Pig in there. And I was like, you know what? Let me go ahead and get this done while I can.
Mine as well.
Yeah, she was happy with her popsicle in front of the TV. And let me tell you, TV can be a resource.
TV
Popsicles can be a resource.
100%. What about, I love this term, conscious mom versus bad or good mom? talking about, again, just because you did not get X done does not mean you're a bad mom.
Correct. So this is, again, where we need to kind of get away from our value and our self-worth coming from productivity.
And that's me. I'm like,
I'm
look what all I got accomplished.
Oh, yeah. I know. I love a good to-do list and being able to cross things off my to-do list. I will add things that I've accomplished to the to-do list.
To check it off.
Absolutely. I'm here for it.
What does that say about us?
We're very type A.
Yeah. Yeah.
We also really like validation.
Why do we like validation so much?
We may not have always felt like we got it from our parents when we were growing up.
Even though we both had really great parents.
Oh, yeah. And the thing is, my parents did give me validation growing up, but I don't think it was my love language.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's the thing. It's like, I don't think until now I've really learned my love language.
Correct. Yeah.
So as a kid.
Yeah, there's no way we really would have known. So, of course, our parents give us love in their love language because we're humans. That's what we're going to do.
Right.
But for me, I do get so much validation and self-worth out of productivity. And so for me, like, words of affirmation is always going to be high up on my love languages. And I think it's swapped a little bit where acts of service and quality time, they kind of fight for that second place role there. But as far as like good mom or bad mom of what I got done today.
Yeah.
What you get done is not actually a definition of your character.
Right.
And who you are. Now, this is where we put it in that versus conscious mom. When we do a conscious parenting, it's when we are aware enough of where we are at with our emotions and our feelings, and we can either regulate so that we're not losing our tempers, we can express our emotions in a healthy manner to our children, or when we do lose it because we're going to, because we're humans, we can go back to our child and have conflict resolution. Or let's say we do forget something. We forget to pack the snack, or we forget to send the assignment, or whatever it is.
It's going to happen.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It happens.
It's going to happen. We're human. That's when we can go back and say, I'm really sorry I forgot about that. I did not mean to forget that.
It's an owning of, I'm human.
Yeah.
And showing your kids, you don't expect them to be perfect the whole entire time, too.
I know.
And I think it really goes back to that pediatrician, too, of I don't think it's healthy for our kids to see us doing everything and anything and never resting and never setting boundaries.
And never being there and playing with them.
And just being present.
That's a big one.
Yeah. So if this is resonating with you guys, Whitney, give them some like just little Whitney thoughts of just how to give them some hope. What's the steps they can do? They're like, I'm ready.
So one thing that I would encourage you to do, again, we're going to reframe.
Okay.
So when you have that negative or that self-deprecating thought of, I'm not good enough, I forgot this, things along those lines.
I can't do this for my work and my kids. I'm failing.
I can't be all the things to all people. Reframe. You know what? That's right. I can't be all things to all people. I don't have a choice but to be here for my kids. I mean, that's life.
Yeah, that's life.
It is what it is. But our kids don't have to have the Pinterest craft to take to school.
Right.
Let's give ourselves more realistic expectations of what we can and cannot accomplish.
Yeah.
And then when it comes to work, yes, we do have a due diligence at work. We absolutely do. But when we feel like we're hitting our max, that's when we can say, you know what, I can't take on another project right now. Or, if you work in a hospital and you're a nurse, you can be like, hey, I need to go flexi, or I need to go part-time if that's something that you can do financially, or even saying, maybe I need to swap floors to get a break from this.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Try to brainstorm of ideas to make life a little bit easier for you.
And you can take off, you can always, whatever you put on yourself, you can take off.
Oh, yeah.
When it comes to labels, when it comes to tasks, when it comes to, I'm the only person that can do this.
Yeah.
That again goes back to we've always tried to please, and society tells us to keep, do.
Because you know what? My husband can do my kids' laundry.
Yeah, my husband can,
I don't have to do it all on my own every single time.
And that's not, there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
That's not defining us.
And you wouldn't view one of your friends or another mom as weak if she accepts help.
I would say good for you.
So Here's a good challenge. Here's
Okay.
a little bit of homework for people. However you view somebody else, whether it is a friend, a colleague, just another mom, if you would not view her as weak for accepting help, view yourself in the same light.
Yeah. And let's throw this in there. If you're like, no, they would be weak, you need to look inside yourself there.
Yeah, because nobody is weak for asking for help.
Nobody
can do life alone.
You need to get in there and figure out what mindset, why that was created, and work through that with a therapist.
Yeah, absolutely. Because again, that's very high self-imposed expectations, which chances are there's a childhood link to that.
It always goes back to childhood.
It does. I'll tell you, mine actually started when I worked in foster care.
Oh, wow.
In my early 20s. I can tell you exactly where that started for me.
And that was because, I remember this story, right? Didn't they impose like so much on you?
It was a strange dynamic where we actually had what would be considered a small caseload of like 6 to 8 kids, but we had to see our therapeutic foster kids 3 times a week. And then we had to see our family preservation cases once a week. And then if they were traditional foster care, I had to see them once a week as well. And that's not including any emergencies and things like that came up. And so it really was a lot to juggle if you have 8 kids on your caseload.
Yeah.
So you've got 5 days in the work week.
Yeah.
And let's just say 3 of those 8 kids are therapeutic foster care. I have to see all of them 3 times each. So that's 9 visits.
Yeah.
Well, then you've got my other, let's see, did I say I had 8 at that time? So I've got 5 other people that I have to see at least once that week.
Wow.
So that's 14 visits in a week, not including documentation, not including my drive time, not including school meetings, not including court, all of those things. Oh, taking them to doctors and dentist appointments, psychiatric appointments. I mean, we were all the things to them, and it was a lot to manage. And
yeah.
I'm on a normal week, I probably worked 60 hours.
Wow.
Easily. And so, I mean, there I was having to be all things to all people, not just to my children and the foster parents, but to my supervisor, to DHR, to the courts, to medical offices to make sure kids got there on time, to school systems so that I could verify that I'm actually somebody that can check this child out of school and they're going to be safe. Like, we had to answer to a lot of people. And you can only do that for so long before you burn out.
And I think you just described motherhood.
Oh, yeah. And this was on steroids because you're not actually the parent, but you have to assume a parent role and be responsible. It was a lot.
Well, we always look inert.
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing that. Yeah. But guys, you're not alone, but please take the challenge that Whitney just presented. Mm-hmm. If you would not judge your best friend, your sister, anybody for setting a boundary, knowing their time is valuable, rest, asking for help, receiving help.
Yeah.
Don't judge yourself.
No, not even a little bit. That's not allowed.
So, and we know you're superheroes, but superheroes get to rest.
That's right.
Take your rest. Until next time, guys.
All right, see ya.
Maternal mental health is as important as physical health. The Previa Alliance podcast was created for and by moms dealing with postpartum depression in all its variables, like anxiety, anger, and even apathy. Hosted by CEO, founder Sarah Parkhurst, and licensed clinical social worker Whitney Gay, each episode focuses on specific issues relevant to pregnancy and postpartum. Join us and hear how other moms have overcome mental health challenges, as well as access tips and suggestions on dealing with your own challenges as moms. You can also browse our podcast library and listen to previous episodes at any time. Please know you're not alone on this journey. We're here to help.